Hello and welcome back. So, last but certainly not least is the Chain Lightning spell that I made. This one is by far my favorite just because of the logic that went into making it, and just honestly it was just because I was working on this and I had finished enough spells at this point that I felt like I had added a good bit of dynamicness to the spell casting, and it would be good fun to play and all that stuff. But I thought to myself, well, I can't really, I shouldn't stop here. Like I've done an adequate amount of work. I should put it over the top with this last one because me and Andy had talked about the spell quite a bit actually, and we always talked about how cool it would be to do. But as we were kind of trying to bounce ideas off of each other, we couldn't really think of how we would implement this within the Unreal system. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do this. I'm going to push through and I'm going to make this one last spell. And that's part of the reason why I'm so proud of it. But anyways, enough about the background. I'm just going to tell you about the spell itself now. So this one works much like the other ones in the beginning. You have to call it using the normal spell. And so you cast this fifth option, which is the spawn call. It's the call electric arc. And so we can go ahead and look at this electric arc. Sorry about that. I accidentally had to close down all my stuff. Alright, so this one. Oh, it's just so fun. Alright, so I was like, I wanted to be able to cast lightning to each of these areas in a location, but I wanted to kind of have a chain effect where every time it reached a new actor, it would spawn itself again, and then look for more actors around it and spawn itself again. And essentially, that just meant that if there were, it was different in the AoE, because if in the AoE you have one volume starting from one point, one location, and it just damages the things within that. Kind of lame whenever you look at this one and think about the fact that, alright, so you start with one point and you look at all the actors around you, and you go to each of those actors and you start a new point, and then you look at a new circumference around you. If there's more actors in that one, you go to the further one. And I realized that whenever I finally figured out how to do this, I realized it could be pretty OP, and so I limited it to just doing that up to 3 times, effectively getting 4 in a row, chaining off of 4 different actors, but repeating itself 3 times, essentially. And the particle system that I have for this one is cool as well. I'll post either pictures or videos of this all together in my next post, just to show you what all of these look like, because I know I've talked about them all, but you've only seen the code side. So I'll let y'all see the front end, the business end of this, I guess. I don't know. I would consider this a business end, but I'll let you see the pretty stuff, not just the boring stuff. Anyways, so how it works is I set a delay once again, and that was because this time it wasn't for visual effect. It was because if I wanted to spawn a new actor for each of the things in the loop, it was really heavy on the CPU because it was doing all of this immediately. Because if you think about it, let's say you only have 3 actors within that first sphere. Well, you're going to spawn 3 spheres, so now you have 4 spheres. And then let's say now you've added 3 more, you've made contact with 3 more actors. Okay, well that's 3 more spheres, so now we're up to a total of 7. And let's say within those you find 2 more, and then so basically how all of that happening at the same time with the particle effect I was using, and also just all the computational stuff. It was really bugging out, and it was slowing down really bad, especially with the VR. Just couldn't keep up, and so I had to deal with a little bit of a performance issue, and this really helped me figure that out, because by giving it that 0.2 seconds to kind of allocate everything and then spawn the next one, it gave it enough breathing room to be able to do it and not crash the game essentially. So that's what that's there for. But we look at the container, the sphere, and we get its overlapping actors. We get any of the actors it's overlapping, and we give it an array to this one. That will do the damage, so that's the business part of things. And then we do another one for each, where we will spawn another one of these electricity arcs, called electricity arc 2, in this one, at the location of whatever array element is in there. And we'll also spawn the emitter, and we'll give it a little bit of a delay, that way so we can actually see the particle effect, and then we destroy it. And that is essentially what we did. And the cool part about it was, so if you think about it, if you're spawning the same class, then the sphere is going to be the same size, right? So if one of these is in this location, like let's say, let's use this grid up here. Alright, so I'm just going to use, this as an example. Alright, so let's say this is a person, right? And this is our spell. Let's say the spell encompasses an area about that this big, say blast radius, and make it red, just so it's for fun, kablooey. Alright, so this is what the point that we're blowing it up on, right? Alright, so this is one of the actors within it. Oh, well that means that we gotta spawn another one and blow it up again, so we're gonna make another blast radius. Oh, pardon me. Alright, make that one red as well. I go orange, I guess. Alright, see, it's about the same size, and it's within the center of that. You see, the problem here is now, not only is this one calling this one, but this one is also calling that one, and so this one's going to get attacked twice, and that's really not what we want. So the key was to kind of do this in a way where, for the most part, something could be found in this one, and would spawn this one, but it wouldn't reference back the area that it just was. And then we would do that one more time for another actor, and make the blast radius just a little bit smaller again. And this is where the genius really comes from, because that, or I say genius, it's really common sense now that, like, I'm past it and all that stuff, but while I was sitting there trying to figure out how to just make it work better, it was so hard to figure this out. So, essentially though, now we've done this, this is kind of what happens with each of the classes that I go down. The collider gets smaller. So, and this really helped with the GPU, because that meant that it wasn't calling itself. Because before, if it was calling itself, well then it would do this, and then it would spawn this one right here. Oh, come here, you. There we go. It's not one to play nice with me, is it? Oh, we'll do it like this. It's probably because it's overlapping. So then it would do this, and then for our third one, then it would reference back here, and if we make the blast radius the same size, then it's now spawning a third one on that one, and so it's just bad news all over. And it was just really heavy on the computer, and so it's just basically it's a recursive function, but it's made to get smaller each time. That way, so it doesn't quite destroy itself whenever it comes to computing it. And so you can see, like, here's a cool particle effect that I made, and you can see how big the collider sphere is. But if I go to 2 and 3, here's 2 real quick. If I go to 2 and 3, you can tell that the sphere is just a little bit shorter, and then in 3, it's much shorter than that, as you can see. And 3 is actually a little bit different, because instead of spawning once again another class, because I wanted to kind of curtail how OP it was, we just spawn an emitter, and the emitter causes an explosion, and that's how you know. And that was the end of the line. for that. And it took me about two and a half hours to figure this out and just make it work, and especially work well and in a way that it should. And so I am really proud of this one. But yeah, I guess we go back to the particle effect. But here in a little bit, I'll show you these in action, or at least pictures of them in action, and y'all can enjoy that in my next post. Until then, I'll see y'all. Bye.